stopped at Wawa for a drink before my drive home, and the cashier said, "You're the third guy with a Power Ranger shirt in here today." I said, "Oh, there's a toy show just down the road. All the nerds are out today." He laughed. I've been holding out on you guys. I've bought some stuff recently that I haven't shown off in videos. Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, I am showing off some haul stuff from some recent cons I've been to, as well as just a few other things that I've picked up that have joined the collection recently. Some of the stuff I've had for a little while, it just hasn't made it into a video. I've been busy with the new releases of Classifieds and G.I. Joe Ultimates and things like that. I hope you guys have been enjoying those episodes. I had the 40th anniversary Rainbow Bright episode to do, and so I finally want to get caught up on some of this stuff. I actually mentioned a while back that I have some collecting goals for this year, and actually a few items in this pile that I got to get to are part of that. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. First up, I actually did an episode about what makes cons great back right after Zolo Con, but I didn't really do a Zolo Con episode so much. I did show off some footage from it, but I didn't really do a recap, so I didn't show off my haul. And my haul was pretty small, but I definitely want to show that off in this video. I have some stuff from NJCC, antiques on the Evergreens, or the Evergreen Toy Show, and a few other just items I've picked up recently. Zolocon is held at the Fuge in Warminster, Pennsylvania. It's an annual show held in a very unique space, and they always have a lot of vendors there. I try to go every year just to see some friends and things like that. I picked up one item this year. I really didn't do a lot of hunting. I was just kind of there to say hi, pop in, visit. I was actually trying to pick up something I bought from a toy vendor who was also going to be there, and it didn't work out. So that was sort of my mission, was to grab that stuff. So while I was there, I picked up in a sealed baggie the Mail Away Desert Camo Savage. This is Sergeant Savage from the line of G.I. Joe toys that went between A Real American Hero and G.I. Joe Extreme. It's not a line I have a ton of stuff from, but I have a few pieces here and there. My buddy Chris was selling him. I've seen him at a couple shows, kind of hanging around on his table, and finally I bit the line and picked him up, and I'm happy to have him in my collection. I'm debating whether I'm going to keep him sealed or if I'm going to crack him out of this mailer bag so I can display him. The next show I attended was the New Jersey Collectors Convention, or NJCC. This show is always held at a hotel in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I've been going to this show probably the longest out of any toy show that I attend. It's one of the first ones I heard about in the kind of pre-social media days of toy collecting. I think my friend Paul told me about it. He was just like, "Oh, it's this address this week," and I MapQuested it the first time. But NJCC is a fairly small show, but it caters to G.I. Joe and Transformers fans, and I have bought a lot of great stuff there over the year. I often go to hang out with friends throughout the show, and this year was no different. My friends Dave Croft and Henry Kaufman were there. These guys are both diehard G.I. Joe collectors. I love spending time with Henry because I learn something from him every time. He knows so much about variants and mold differences and all kinds of little strange things about G.I. Joe. And Dave and I have been friends for a long time, and I love getting a chance to hang out with him. Both of these guys are from out of state, and so it's nice when they come up this way to a show. We were actually hanging at Kevin Watt's booth because I wanted to look through his parts bins. He brings these little cases full of color-coded weapons, and one of the things I'm trying to get done this year is really chip away at my G.I. Joe accessories that I need to finish my Real American Hero collection. And there's some on there that are doozies. I need Heavy Duty's mic, I need Firefly's walkie-talkie, but there's also some pretty easy stuff that I just really need to get crossed off the list. While we were there, Dave was talking to Kevin about the grayish release of Countdown from 1994. Kevin is actually selling off a lot of his vintage G.I. Joe collection, most of the stuff from the later years, and so there were some pretty hard to find figures there for sale. Here, take a look at this Countdown. He's concerned it might be yellow. I don't think it is. I think it's just that weird-ass gray.
I think it's, now that I've looked at it, I think it's the weird-ass gray, but...
Right next to Kevin Watt's booth was the toy department. They're a toy store out in Ohio, and they brought dig bins with them as well. Henry and Dave had spent a lot of time before I even got to the show digging through them. Henry was looking for variants on the Countdown helmet. Do you guys know about how there's like hard plastic ones and rubber ones? There's also some like internal differences in them. So Henry was doing some research. I did dig through those bins quite a bit trying to find some stuff that I could use, but they were already pretty picked through because I went on Sunday and it was a 2-day show. I was really excited that my friend Carson from 3D Joe's was a guest at the convention. He was there with his book, the hardcover omnibus Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe, a fantastic coffee table style book that contains every original painting created for the G.I. Joe Real American Hero line, with in-depth research about the different creators and artists that were involved with the line, from marketing to design to sculpting and things like that. Very cool book, and since I was actually able to see him, I was able to get it signed. I'd previously ordered it through the Kickstarter. Carson's a really great guy. This is the second time I've gotten to hang out with him at NJCC. NJCC has door prizes every couple hours throughout the day. It's one of the draws to kind of like hang out, because this show is not huge. So a lot of times my friends and I will go around the venue, and then we'll go hang out in the lobby or go get food and come back for some of the raffles.
So Carson provided us some standees to give away at the show. The first one here we're going to be giving away is Storm Shadow.
I won Classified Buzzer at the show. I'm pretty sure I have him, so I might end up finding a friend that could use a Buzzer figure in their life, since I got him for free. When I was working really hard on collecting the G.I. Joe Real American Hero figures, in the beginning I was only worried about getting the figures. Accessories was a bonus, but I didn't have to get the accessories to cross the guy off. And when I was even trying to get like accessories, I wasn't super worried about figure stands. But I have slowly gone back through and really kind of examined my collection better to try and fill in some of those holes. And one of the main things I bought off Kevin Watts was figure stands. So I had a count, and I knew that I needed, looks like, 3 white figure stands and 3 red figure stands, 2 yellows, a gold, 2 gold, 2 navy blues, a purple, a couple blacks, right? So I picked up a bunch of figure stands from Kevin. That's super fantastic for helping me cross some guys off my list. I picked up the stock from Dusty version 3, the 1990s version of Dusty that came with the Sandstorm Coyote. I needed a stock for his gun that didn't have a stress mark on it. I was able to pick that up. I also found this black gun that felt like I needed it. I couldn't recognize who it was. I asked Dave. He told me it was Scoops. It's similar to Scoops, but it turns out it's Sci-Fi from 1994, and I needed that gun. So I'm glad that I felt like I recognized that it was a gun that I wasn't sure about. And I'm glad I didn't just go, oh, Dave's right, and throw it back in there. Dave is usually pretty good, and Scoop's gun's similar, but I knew there was something funny about this barrel, and it wasn't a weapon I had as a kid. I found a yellow missile I needed, a gun for the 90s gung-ho, Sci-Fi's helmet from the 90s. I grabbed a Frag Viper's grenade launcher thing just because it's handy to have extra weapons for army builders sometimes. Grabbed an extra Night Viper gun. The strap on it is a little bit possibly mangled, like it looks like somebody maybe chewed on it or something, but it will at least display nice with a Night Viper, and it was pretty cheap. I got a complete set of accessories minus the helmet to Barricade. I have a Cops figure Barricade head that was custom made to fit on a G.I. Joe body, and I've been wanting to do like a mashup figure with Barricade, and I wanted to get his battering ram because both versions of Barricade from Cops and G.I. Joe use a battering ram. And since everybody seems to be making their own custom Night Force figures based on the unreleased vehicle drivers, I did find a backstop and helmet in a bin for relatively cheap there at the toy department's dig bin, so I grabbed him in case I decide to get creative this summer. There was also a table that had a fair amount of Sigma 6 stuff at NJCC. I was excited to see the brand got some love from Toy Galaxy recently. They did the history of the failure of G.I. Joe Sigma 6. I enjoyed the Sigma 6 cartoon, but was never into the toys. The third and final show that I want to talk about was the Evergreen Toy Show. It is hosted by my friend Ed Rents at the Antiques on Evergreen antique store. It has like different corners or sections of the store that are filled with things by different vendors, you know, like a typical antique mall. And they have a back room that I'm not sure exactly what they use it for throughout the majority of the year, but a couple times a year, Ed organizes a toy show, and it's pretty much the only show that I vend at. I'm lucky I always get to sit between Mike Bro from the Bro Show and my friends Rose and Tony from RetroCon. Well, show's open. Somehow I got stuck next to this guy again. I don't know how I keep lucking out. Always works out to be a fun time. We get food, we hang out, we sell some stuff, maybe buy some stuff. Again, at this show, I am kind of in sell mode. I'm trying to unload some of the stuff that I've bought through impulse buys or collections I've bought from people because I wanted part of the collection, or just things that I've decided now I don't have the room to display. I try and be in sell mode at that event, but I do still sometimes pick some things up. The first thing I picked up there was Hall of Omens. This is the unofficial ultimate guide to Thundercats toys and beyond. I got to see a preview copy of this at Zolocon earlier in the year, and then they had copies for sale there. It's pretty nicely put together, having pictures of all of the major releases, like all of the American releases, as well as a lot of foreign releases. There is a lot of cool stuff about prototypes, unreleased toys. There are some interviews, pictures of cosplayers and things like that. I do feel like the layout looks a little familiar, looks a little bit like a He-Man book, I know. But overall, it's a nice product, and if you want to be able to look at all the things in the Thundercats line without owning them, this is not a bad way of doing it. Some of the things that I do like is that they point out where LJN reused items, sometimes actually with a figure, sometimes just in promotional shots. The one mistake that I think I found is I'm positive there's a variation on Snowman of Hook Mountain's helmet, but this book says there are no variations of Snowman. Ed, who runs the show, always has his booth set up in the Antiques Mall, but he also has a table in the showroom area. He always has a lot of good G.I. Joe and Star Wars stuff. I've bought a lot of stuff off Ed over the years. Other vendors there that I am good friends with, Amy, Ben, and Will, are some of my favorite collecting people to get to chit-chat with. I sold Will a sealed copy of the Iron Giant on VHS with the little Iron Giant action figure in there. And my friends Rose and Tony brought a bunch of mask stuff with them, and that sold out almost instantly. Rose also brought a lot of like Barbie and Gem and the Holograms dolls, and those also sold well. My buddy Joshua from Patreon stopped by the show in person. That's one of the fun things about going to shows, getting to run into people that watch Pegwarmers. He brought me a set of the Jada G.I. Joe Nano vehicles with the His Tank, Vamp Mark II, and Snowcat. My friend Chris Stoltz from the Muppet Stuff blog, he was the guest on the Muppets episode, surprised me at the show with a Big Bird figurine based on a story I told about losing a childhood Big Bird figure when we did the episode, so that was pretty funny. There should be a video clip of that on his channel whenever his episode about that or his general toy hunting vlog comes out. I got the Motu Origins Roton. Now, I knew I was getting this. I couldn't find it at retail. I actually had trouble finding some of the vehicles from this line. I never got the Road Ripper. But my friend Tony from RetroCon was able to pick one of these up on clearance. He's had it for a while. I just hadn't seen him to buy it off of him. So he brought it to the show, and I got it there. And it's pretty awesome. I love how it has the monogram model kit pieces, the dome, the alternate face, or it's pretty much a traditional vehicle. The stickers look great. The gloss plastic looks great. The action feature works on it. Very cool.
Hey, you know what? I need to be back on Pegwarmer sometime soon. Ha! Because I'm awesome, not this guy, me!
Besides trying to really whittle down the G.I. Joe accessories I need, I mentioned in my goals for the year that I really want to try and finish up the Bionic 6, like get the rest of the characters. I don't have those figures. I did an episode about was I buying the wrong toy line, and then an episode about my Bionic 6 collection. And then my buddy Trick Treat, who watches the show and that I've known for years through NJCC and RetroCon, Trick Treat alerted me to a sale on the Toy Fellas Facebook group page. Sal, a toy reseller who I've known for many years, had some Bionic 6 figures for sale. And they were fairly rough, which is pretty much how it goes with Bionic 6 stuff a lot of the time. If you watched my episode about it, I was talking about trying to upgrade some of my figures. I had bought some off of Trick Treat back at York. And so he had several there, and I was able to get 2 of the characters I needed, plus I picked up another character who has some accessories that I believe to be legit, and I plan to compare them to the placeholder bootleg accessory ones that I have. So first up, I got Eric. I don't think this Eric figure is nicer than mine, but I am hoping that this bat and this glove are original accessories. It's going to be a little tricky for me to verify, but I'm going to see what I can do as far as comparing them to the bootleg ones I have, and maybe I'll even show them to some, longtime toy vendor people that I know and see if they have any inclination. He didn't have a lot of accessories in the ones he was selling, Sal, so I don't think it was a case like where I had bought that set years ago of basically all their weapons. It's possible, but the plastic on this bat is definitely different than the plastic on the bat I have. And this glove's very rubbery, which I think mine's pretty rubbery also, so we'll see. I'm going to try and get to the bottom of it. I got Clunk. Clunk is the gross melting dude from the bad guy faction. He's definitely beat up, but I did get a pretty decent price on these guys, so I'm happy to have him in my collection, even if it is a down-the-road upgrade still. At least I've got him. And the last figure I picked up, the second of the 3 that I actually need an example of in my collection, is JD, who also goes by IQ. He's the older adopted son of the Bionic family, and he looks pretty good. Obviously, like I said, there is definitely some major paint wear on him, but he isn't broken, and I didn't have a JD, and I don't see a lot of JDs, so excited to have him in some form in my collection. If you watched last week's episode, I did talk about a rumor related to Brian Flynn and Super 7. I did see a follow-up video that came out later that week where Brian was on the show Robo Knows, another YouTube channel, and he talked about it and talked about how nothing's changed at Super 7, that the only piece of information that was accurate in the Reddit post was the fact that they did take an investment at one point, the company, but he denied all of the other stuff that, like, anything has really changed or that he's been pushed aside or anything to that effect. So, like I said when I addressed it, I wish Brian well, I wish Super 7 well. It doesn't really matter to me who's in charge as long as we're getting cool product, but I didn't want to see anything happen to Brian necessarily. But I guess none of it was true. I only really brought it up and addressed the rumor because I was talking about the newest wave of Super 7 figures, and it just felt like it was too hard to not also touch on that. So I did definitely want to put that out into the world, that I've heard from Brian that stuff's not true, and so I also wanted to spread that message, assuming that that's what people were waiting to hear, whether any of this Reddit stuff was true or not. My buddy Nick came out to the Evergreen show, and it was so good to see him. I have not seen Nick in a while. He used to be kind of like my right-hand guy, or I was his right-hand guy, I don't even know which, but we were toy collecting buddies. We would drive together to shows all the time, but Nick's career has changed, and he's cut back on collecting quite a bit, so I don't get to see him as much. But it was really cool that he came out. He hung out kind of behind our section, since I said, like, Mike and Rose and Tony, we all had a section together. Jen was there, Mike's wife, but we were all kind of hanging out together, and we ordered lunch. Jen comes through with the food! And Nick hung out with us. He did buy some stuff off of me, which was funny. And they were actually trying to figure out how to transform a Grimlock figure that I had, like a modern Grimlock, and just couldn't get the elbows or the shoulders to do quite the right thing. Mike was, like, looking up directions on the internet at one point. Then they had a standoff between Grimlock and Jason Voorhees. It was a really good time. The last thing I have to show off today, I just got these guys in the mail. I got the last 2 retro card figures that I've been waiting for. if you saw my recent Classifieds episode, I talked about Rakondo. Now I've got Duke and Scarlet. I'm super excited to have these. I've been seeing so many pictures of the Scarlet figure and just how awesome she is online. This Duke looks fantastic. I'm just really excited to have good versions of these early characters that came out in the Classifieds line, but got the Fortnite treatment. So, super happy about these. Looks like Duke's got a fairly accurate backpack to his vintage one. He's got the cartoon blaster, the snow job gun. He's got his helmet, a pistol, a knife, some alternate hands, while Scarlet has an M16, a backpack, her crossbow, some bolts, a removable ponytail, a pistol, a knife, and some additional hands. Both of these figures have, you know, very retro-inspired card backs. It is new artwork on there. I'm not sure that it holds a candle to Hector Garrido's, but it's also not bad. I like it. It's better than I could do. And, you know, it's nice that they updated it a little bit just so it kind of matches the actual design of these figures, since these aren't based exactly on the vintage they're inspired by, but there's some extra details in, like, Scarlet's belt and little weapon holster there, and even Duke's face kind of more matches this version of the action figure. So I know this wasn't the most massive haul ever. I'm sure there's a few other things around here. I got Motu Origins Cyclone from Mattel Creations. So he's another guy I could throw in this episode. But I just wanted to be able to get a chance to share some of this stuff that I recently picked up, especially the stuff from the cons, because it's been sitting around, and I didn't put it away because I wanted to, like, share it with you guys and show you that I'm making progress on some of those collecting goals. I should probably, at some point, go through and look at that list again and figure out exactly what it is that I need to get rid of. And there's one last little thing I wanted to bring up in toy news. Nacelle, the company that did the Toys That Make Us and has been doing a lot of retro toys like the Biker Mice from Mars and Sectars, they're doing Cowboys of Moo Mesa toys, and they're based on the cartoon show from the 90s, and they speak to me, but I'm really trying not to buy other lines. They're doing the Sheriff of Moo Mesa, they're doing Terrible and Calamity Kate. It's neat to see Kate because we didn't get any of the female characters in the original line. It's also cool to get these guys in their cartoon style, which I didn't have the toys as a kid, but I watched the cartoon show every week. I do own some of the loose figures now. I really like the way these look. I can't decide if I'm jumping in on this line. So in the comments down below, let me know what you think of the new Cowboys of Moo Mesa figures, if you've checked them out at all. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you could support the channel further by hitting the like button, that would be super appreciated. Consider sharing this video with a toy collecting friend. If you want to financially help support the channel, consider joining us on Patreon. Thanks for hanging on the peg with me.